Sorry for running late.
We are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York girl. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Everybody, it is the New York Knicks podcast, episode 567, part of Dash Radio. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I am just realizing the Knicks winning percentage will never catch the number of episodes ever for the future of the show.
Yeah.
The more episodes we do, the harder it'll be. And
almost got there.
Almost got there. I mean, maybe next year they'll begin 1-0 and they'll be ahead of us for a little while.
I mean, they were 5-1 at one point. They were ahead of us.
That was pretty awesome. So Jay, I'm going positive this episode. Things are good. Things are looking up, Jay. Since last episode, the Knicks had a heartbreaker against the Phoenix Suns, and the many Cams that are torturing the Knicks this year. There was Cam Thomas, Cam Payne put a lot of pain on the Knicks. Not Cam Payne, sorry, Cam Johnson. But Cam Payne also had a good game. Cam Johnson looked like a goddamn Hall of Famer against the Knicks. Hit a last-second shot to crush our dreams. But the Knicks beat the Clippers, they beat the Kings, and they have gone into the mode of trying to destroy their draft pick. What's going on, Jay?
Yeah, it's that time of season where the Knicks are all but eliminated from the playoffs and then win a bunch of games to get the 8th to 10th pick in the draft.
I think chances are they probably weren't moving up very much from here, so I don't know. The young guys have been playing. In past times the Knicks have done this, it was usually with players that would not be on the team very much longer. Here, the young guys are contributing, and these guys are our future. These children are our future. I don't know why I call them children, just because that song. But the Knicks are probably they're at the 9th seed right now for the tankathon, not for the real playoffs. They can move up to 8th. Portland could get hot.
I had visions of 5th, but that this little mini 2-game winning streak, I think, put the nail in that coffin. But
whatever. And
anyway, we got to see some
McBride.
We got to see Sims, extended looks,
Yeah. I would say also this is the time of year where we have all these debates on Knicks Twitter in which people are like, tanking doesn't work. So-and-so got drafted. Not everyone drafted later in the draft. It doesn't always work. And then like 2 months later, the same people are always like, can we trade up in the draft? Is there any way to move up in the draft?
Right.
But,
if only there was a way to get a better draft pick.
There's only a way. Why don't we trade all our draft picks we have just to move up in this draft? You could have just lost 2 more games. No, there's no way we could have done.
But
anyway,
what about the culture? What about the culture?
What about the culture? But anyway, so whatever. It is nice to see the young guys playing. So tell me, what do you think so far? So Miles McBride, we have been waiting to see some Miles McBride play. He is finally getting some minutes. He's playing he's playing with IQ, who seems to be manning the point guard while McBride is out there. But at the same time, I'd say, so have you watched any of the G League clips of McBride, Jay?
I've seen a couple highlights. He looks very good there.
So he's been laying it up in the G League. The one thing I say about the G League, it seems like there's not a lot of defense going on in the G League. And not that everyone
basically ran from half court to get a layup, and nobody even attempted to step in front of him.
I don't know what's going on in the G League, and I don't know how watchable these games are, but there really doesn't seem like, just the clips I've watched of him, every clip, it just doesn't seem like the defense is really.
I feel like if you want to get called up to the NBA, you should probably put in effort in the G League.
Yeah, I feel like if you're not putting up numbers in the G League, then you really should never be in the NBA, because you should be able to put up numbers in the G League. And McBride is totally doing that. I think the reason I think Tibbs has been reluctant to use McBride is so on the one hand, the positive side of McBride, he looks like he's really into playing defense, knows what he's doing, and that's definitely in what Tibbs likes. But I also think from a point guard, Tibbs likes a point guard who's more aggressive, who can really create his own shot, and penetrate. Which McBride does not look like he has the fastest like first step to the basket. He does not look like one of those break down the defense point guards. Would you agree with that?
I don't know, because I got really mad during the Phoenix game because every time he was on the court, he hid in the corner, and IQ. It's like, don't you want to see if this guy is an actual point guard, or is Tibbs really like IQ is more of a point guard? Because I don't get the point. I would even like to see McBride out there without IQ.
I agree with that. I would like to see him out there without IQ. Why don't you give those guys the main minutes at point guard? Alex Burke was asked about playing point guard, and he said something, and I'm paraphrasing him, like, well, you know what? With our team, anyone can really play point guard. It just is what it is.
But not our team, our offensive scheme.
Yeah. Like Burks basically was saying he more or less just said, I guess I'm playing point guard. I'm not a point guard, but what are you going to do? That's what the guy who's starting point guard said for our team.
That's the frustrating thing, because if you had IQ and McBride splitting the minutes at point now, because Walker and Rose are injured, you could put Burks back at the 2, and he was really good at the 2 last year, like really good.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of hurt. Really, there's been a lot of hate towards Alec Burks, and most of it is because he's playing out of position. And I know it's supposed to be positionist basketball, but him being forced to be the guy creating the offense really hurts his game, because that's not his game.
Right. Now that Grimes is injured, you just have Fournier and Burks split the minutes at the 2, and I think you're good.
I mean, like, Alec Burks is a better player than Elfrid Payton, but Elfrid Payton was a better point guard than Alec Burks. And that's just saying how far we've fallen, basically, with starting point guards.
Right. Yeah, and I can't even argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's, yeah, again, like, it's amazing how we had Elfrid Payton and we were like, well, this is the floor. And our GM, our team president's like, let me hold my beer. I'm going to make this worse.
Which is funny because, for context, Chris Paul got injured, and then Cameron Payne got injured, and they still called somebody out of the G League to play point guard instead of Elfrid Payton. Payton's getting like 2 minutes at a game now.
I would say this offseason, and I know the Knicks are going to have Derrick Rose back next season. And I don't know how healthy he'll be, whatever. Even presuming he plays all the games, I think the Knicks need 2 point guards on this, 2 new point guards on this roster next year. Despite whatever McBride's doing, you need a real starter. The Knicks don't have a starter. And I would get someone. I mean, get multiple point guards just to throw. We just need more point guards. IQ is really not a point guard. He looks better off the ball. McBride's been okay. I'd like some guys to have like maybe a real competition there for point guard. Let's have an abundance of point guards.
You want to be like a normal NBA team with 3 point guards?
Yeah, I think that would make some sense. I don't know. Even like, I mean, they should draft at least 1 point guard, find another point guard in free agency or via trade.
What if I were to tell you that the Knicks have 3 point guards under contract next season?
Kemba, Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose also, he's not necessarily a point. He's kind of an in-between guard at this point. He's kind of a more score-first point guard at this point. I'd like a more traditional. But anyway, yeah, Kemba, Derrick Rose, and McBride. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got 3. They got 3. How many do you want?
Yeah. I mean, I 3 others, okay? Or 2 others. This is absurd. Like, Kemba shouldn't be on the roster next year. Burke should never play point guard again. IQ's not a point guard. He shouldn't be playing point guard either. Rose will be here. And it's great. Yeah, have McBride. Have 2 others. Why don't we just, after all these years of having a drought at point guard, have a few extras? See how it goes.
The Shadow says, do you guys think that Deuce has actually a chance to be a point guard?
So he didn't start off college playing point guard. He eventually started playing point guard, but it's not like he played point guard his whole life or his whole, like in high school. I don't know. He looks like could be good on defense. He looks a little bit, and he hasn't had extended minutes in the NBA, so he's been a little bit hesitant. I think with more time, he'll look better.
He's only had, 2 games this season where he played more than 15 minutes?
Yeah, and the Houston game, he had a good game. Like, he's off, like, we'll see how it goes. I'm not, like, watching McBride being like, wow, he's amazing. I'm just watching him going, wow, how can we not give him a chance at least?
Yeah, especially with what we've seen as of late.
Um,
On a positive note, Randall got his career high last night.
46 points. He was goddamn awesome. He was goddamn awesome.
That was
He
the
hit,
don't trade me for Sabonis revenge game.
yeah. That was that was. Oh, he wanted Sabonis. I'm gonna light your ass up. I had in a bet on DraftKings or whatever. I had over 25 for Sabonis and Randall for the game. Randall, of course, went over 25. I cannot believe Sabonis goddamn sucks. Sabonis? How could you not get me? How could you not win this bet for me?
So, fun fact: the Knicks are the only team in the NBA this year that have 4 players who scored over 40 points in a game.
4 players who scored over 40 points. RJ, obviously Randall, Kemba, and
You got 3 of them.
yeah, obviously. Did Burks do it once?
No, he did not.
No, okay. Fournier.
Yeah.
It's amazing because this is one of the worst offenses of the NBA.
We said at the beginning of the season, anybody on this team can go. They have like 7 guys that could go off at any time, and they all did it once.
Yeah, anyone can score 40 any given night. Someone could score 40. So
Once, though.
once, yeah. So speaking of, RJ has been really great since January, right?
Yeah.
And so you have a going into next season, you're gonna be pretty excited about RJ, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
first draft pick that like worked out in a while.
Yeah, no, he looks like he's going to get better. I'm excited. We need more in the roster, obviously. So there's a guy I've been trashing lately who's starting to have a few good games in Emmanuel Quickly.
Mm-hmm.
His last 4 games have been pretty solid. What do you think of Quickly and his future? I don't think he's a point guard. He's a little undersized. How tall is he? He's 6'3". He's a little undersized for a shooting guard.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think of him?
I'm not too high on him. I just feel like there's a lot of guys in the NBA that could do what he does. Like, you have Maxey, Man. I feel like he's in that category, only less consistent.
So his stats for March,
Mm-hmm.
which only consists of 4 games, he's averaging 18 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists. He is shooting 57% from the field, 55% from 3, and 94% from the line. How do you like those numbers?
I mean, those are great, but I noticed you ignored about 60 games there.
I ignored almost the entire. I mean, up to this point. So through February, he was shooting 35% in the season.
Do you know that since March 7th, Randall's been averaging 46 points a game?
It's crazy how you can do these things with stats. You know what I love on also, someone will put something on Twitter or something like that. They'll be like, small sample size, and when you say small sample size, it means whatever you're going to say next is completely meaningless. But then they'll be like, small sample size, but I don't know, maybe Randall could do 46 points a game going forward. I mean, 1 game over a course of a whole season.
If you say small sample size, you should just say, I cherry-picked this.
You know what you should do? If you say small sample size, you should delete what you're going to write. Because
Exactly.
you're admitting what you're writing it means nothing.
Leave
That's
it
the whole
in
point of
draft for
saying
24 hours and then delete it the next day.
Yeah. Anyway, but 4 games he's finally shooting better. Up through February, the way he was shooting on the season made him borderline not even an NBA player. Like, you can't shoot 35% and be in the NBA. It's just absurd. Last year, first of all, on just a very basic level, your field goal percentage has to be over 40%. Up to this point in his career, last year when people loved him, he shot under 40%. That's not NBA level shooting. That's not like a good shooter. Somehow he's got a reputation as a good shooter anyway. But
according to Reddit, he's a generationally good shooter.
I do have some faith if he just, first of all, if he stopped jacking up shots, he has this weird confidence, like he's Steph Curry. If Steph Curry did not he has the Steph Curry confidence without any accomplishments.
That's my biggest problem with him. He'll get 1 layup and then he'll do 3 straight heat checks from 30 feet away, and it's like, you're not that guy. if the shot's open, take it. By all means, take it. But don't pull up from like 30, 35 feet and just jack it up 4 seconds into the shot clock because you think you could hit every shot. That doesn't work.
So, okay, people are talking about what's our core going forward. If you had to, and I know I did not mention this topic before, Jay, but if you say like, I'm going to give like levels, core for tier one, who's on tier one for our most important players going forward?
Barrett.
Yeah, I agree. Barrett's tier by himself. He's got the youth.
That's the only
everything.
guy I would say is a core has to keep guy. I know it's only one person, but that's what I think of the team right now.
Tier two. Not quite tier one, but very valuable going forward. I'll name the first player. I think Grimes should be in the tier two.
I would have went with Grimes too, yes.
Yeah, I think he's shown enough on defense. He's a good shooter. I feel like this guy's going to develop. Mm-hmm. Who else is in tier two?
Would you put Mitch there?
No, I don't. I'm not that. You can put Mitch there if you want. I don't know if he's going to be on the team next year. He has had some good games. First of all, he got injured last night. He gets injured all the freaking time.
That's my worry with him. That's why I would question putting him in that tier. Do you want to build around a guy who has had 0 healthy seasons so far?
The rumor was the Knicks offered him try to extend him for $48 million over 4 years. If he's not taking that, he can go. I just the idea of him being a $20 million player, it would immediately be one of the worst contracts in the NBA. Like maybe he could live up to this. I just don't. He's in 4 years in the league. He hasn't developed a shot more than a foot away from the basket.
Yeah, what's his ceiling? Great. That's the thing. Like, yeah, I think 12 is fair. You got to think like Barrett's probably going to get overpaid for his first year or two because of the potential, and he's shown that he can get better each season. Has Mitch really improved that much? He fouls less?
If the Knicks extended, so first of all, the Knicks don't have to extend Barrett this summer. They can wait till next summer, right? I think you can wait till your 4th year. You just be a restricted free agent, but the Knicks have the rights to him, right?
Yeah. They
so like
then they could match whatever anybody else offers. So they can extend for a year. This is what they did with David Lee. They extended for a 5th year.
No, I know, but not even extend for a 4th year. This is his 3rd year. They don't have to do anything this summer. They don't have to lock him up this summer. I feel like the Knicks locked up Randall early, and then now, can you imagine a world where the Knicks hadn't locked up Randall last summer?
I mean, what? They'd just be a lot worse. I know Randall hasn't had a good season, but they would be worse.
Do you think they'd be keeping him if they hadn't locked him up? It's not even worth going down this rabbit hole.
I don't know. I mean, he's still if he's not their best player, he's their 2nd best player. Yeah,
no, he is. But I think if they hadn't locked him up, they might have tried to trade him. I don't know. Like, I think he wouldn't have gone all in after this season.
I think they're listening.
To us.
No, because, I mean, it seems like players are cryptically, maybe Mitch not so cryptically, hinting that the offense gets stuck when it goes to certain people. And it's clearly Randall. And 4 different Knicks have said that.
Even though he does try to pass, he needs to be, if you're going to run the offense through him, you're screwed. If you have a point guard that'll make his life easier, he can learn to not have the ball go through him, and he be like when he was in New Orleans, he had a very efficient season because the ball wasn't running through him.
Either that, he's got to learn how to deal with the double team. Like
he passes out of it though. He does sometimes. As long as he gets a bunch of assists, he just can't be your point guard.
Well, but he also, I think he's slower to make decisions, so he does turn the ball over too much in those positions. Like, remember when Tibbs went with point Noah and it worked?
Yes. Like Noah made faster decisions. Totally fine.
That could be like a peak Randall. If Randall was able to see the court like Noah was, it could work. But he's just not. He's not doing that right now.
One of the challenges that were also there. First of all, Randall's handle is not that tight. He's got a decent handle, but he's not the most amazing dribbler. And he's not doesn't have the handle of a point guard. So sometimes he just turns the ball over for that. He tries to do things too much. Noah was in charge. He was in charge of passing the ball, but it wasn't like Noah had to create his own. He wasn't responsible for getting 20 points a game also. Right. And Randall has to both get 20 points a game and create the whole offense. And there's no knock on your player saying you're not LeBron or you're not peak Noah. Like the ball doesn't have to be able to run through your like. He could be your best player and not have the ball run through him.
Yeah. The shadow says it's the wasting time on the shot clock. I definitely agree with that. There's a lot of times where he does what we hated with Melo and with Porzingis, where they would just dribble the air out of the ball and then fling it to somebody with 3 seconds left. And sometimes they hit the shot, but it's not an offense. That's like bail me out.
Well, if you had a point guard who could break down the defense and make his life easier, the ball doesn't have to always go. Like first of all, the ball would move fast. If your offense could actually, you had a point guard who would actually run the ball a little bit, the offense would move faster. He'd have to keep up. Like he's dangerous around the rim. He's got a good shot. But the thing that kills me the most, I mean, his like kind of like slow decision making. Also, when he posts up by the 3-point line and begs for the ball out there, if you're going to post up, get near the basket.
Yeah.
Get a real position. Like this is just give me the ball here so I can like slow the offense down. It's insane. He needs better coaching.
The interesting thing is he went off yesterday and he played a lot of his minutes at the 5. Maybe he's actually a good center.
Well, if you are going to make him the center and maybe play some Obi at center also, maybe you don't need Mitch next year. That's also so my thing with Mitch. First of all, I think Mitch has a ton of talent, but I think he's going to be one of these unrealized potential guys. Something's wrong with the fact that he hasn't developed the lack of development in the first 4 years, and maybe with the right development, he can get better. But like his lack of a post-up game, his lack of ability to shoot more than a foot away from the basket, his defense isn't like he gets some blocks, but his defense isn't amazing.
It's not amazing, but it's not like, Bargnani bad.
No. I think he's a solid. I'm not saying he's a bad defender. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just thinking that his defense as a center is a pretty average defense, maybe slightly above average. He's not like the best defensive center in the NBA. Far from that. He's not Gobert.
Right. So our email is nyknickspodcast@gmail.com.
Look, we have a bunch of questions. Why don't we go to the questions?
Yeah, I was just going to read an email. David writes, how about a sign and trade in the offseason of Mitchell Robinson for Jalen Brunson?
Sign me up in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
You think Dallas needs a center and the Knicks need a point guard? It almost makes too much sense.
So I don't know if you've noticed, Spencer Dinwiddie is going off at Dallas. He is playing really well. Maybe with Dinwiddie going off, Dallas doesn't necessarily need Brunson going forward.
Yeah, I feel like Dinwiddie was almost like a whatever. We just want to get off of Porzingis' contract, and Dinwiddie's actually playing really good.
He's playing great, and they really need another guard that could score. Maybe Dinwiddie can be that guard, and they do need a center. By the way, isn't Mitch just going to be a free agent? Like, right? I guess it's a sign and trade because they'll make the contract. I don't. Whatever.
Yeah, they could do a sign and trade.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the lob game from Doncic.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
he
might
oh my god, this
there.
is what it's like to actually play with a point guard.
I would do this in a heartbeat. I think that would be great. Brunson is supposed to be more of a traditional point guard. When Doncic has been out of the lineup, Brunson has played great. I don't know if Dallas would do that, but that would be if Leon Rose pulls it off. I will take every bad thing I've ever said about Leon Rose back, and I'll call him the GOAT. Next question.
Sam writes, hey guys, what do you think of Quickly? He's a bog, and I can't count how many times he misses wide open Obi under the rim. He makes Cam and Deuce sit in the corners while he chucks up 30-footers. If he makes them, okay, but if he doesn't, he looks like a jackass out there. And watching Maxi's dominant play makes me even angrier.
Maxi came 4 picks before him. He looks a lot better. Quickly, he's had a couple good games recently, but he does dribble the crap out of the ball also. One of his issues quickly is when he drives to the basket, he has no ability to finish near the rim. Like, he just kind of dribbles. He's like, I'm near the rim. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little undersized. The Knicks have a lot of undersized guards. That's also the problem.
The Knicks have a lot of issues. They have a very weak roster. By the way, tier 2, I guess, would be you're going to put Mitch there. Tier 3, and I guess I'm not putting Mitch there, but tier 3, would that be Obi, IQ.
I would
IQ
put
and
Mitch
Obi?
in there. Obi, IQ, Mitch, and McBride and Sims and Randall.
I
Pretty
put
much the
I don't
rest of the
think I put
team.
Sims or McBride in tier 3. I put them maybe tier 4. Sims and McBride haven't shown me enough yet. Even though they have potential. And by the way, I keep seeing highlights of this guy Rokas Jabo, the guy in Europe.
Yeah.
He looks good in his highlights. He plays limited minutes over in Europe. I hope he's not here next year. I hope he plays another season in Europe. I think it'd be great if the Knicks gave him a little bit more time to develop in Europe before they brought him over.
All right. Anthony says Mitch will be good and healthy once he leaves the Knicks.
Absolutely. I'm just saying the guy Rokas, if he could play 25 minutes a game in Europe, then I'd be ready to he's playing 8 minutes a game or 9 minutes a game in Europe, and he's supposed to be an up and coming good player, but it might be since the Knicks aren't good at developing players anyway, let him play another season in Europe.
Yeah, let him develop another year.
Yeah, he's a nice stash to have. There's not much. The rest of then you have just tier crap, and that would be all the veterans. And by the way, we give Evan Fournier a lot of crap this year, and his defense isn't great, but he's actually one of the leaders in 3-point shots in the NBA. I think he's number 5.
I would probably put Burks and Fournier in that third tier. Burks, if he's playing shooting guard, not point guard. I really think most of the team is in a tier 3, fine, whatever.
Yeah, they have a bunch of average. You just need better players overall.
And then tier 4, you would have to Noel just can't stay healthy. The Knicks got scammed. His only healthy season of his entire career was his contract year, and now he can't stay on the court.
The Knicks. The other thing is, so the Knicks have 2 centers that can't stay healthy: Noel and Mitch.
Yeah.
You've already signed one of them. Why would you sign the second guy who can't stay healthy either?
Yeah, could be a problem.
And people are like, "Well, Mitch has played most of the season." You remember last year when he didn't play? He missed most of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bank on him being healthy going forward.
Right.
Last
email.
God.
Paul writes, "Hey guys, I hate the cycle. Play like crap at the beginning of the year, and then when games don't matter, they start playing better and winning games. See IQ Burks when we end up with the 8th pick, getting the Knoxes, Obies, and Franks, rinse and repeat." I agree. I know people say there's winning culture. The Knicks made the playoffs last year. What did that do for the Knicks culture this year?
I think it's pretty much the guy who's drafted with the first pick for the Knicks has to be a starter on the Knicks going forward. If Rose cannot, I don't know if he can all-star, but if Rose cannot nail a starter, then the team needs that kind of stroke of luck basically to go forward. You need this top 10 pick. You need to nail a guy who's going to be a really good player.
Yeah.
There's no other way to build this team. There's nothing else that's going to happen. You need to nail some draft picks. And the Knicks have nailed really 1 draft pick, maybe 2 with Grimes.
So the big board, right now the Knicks have the
9th
according
pick.
to the mock draft, the Knicks have the 9th pick. And they're taking Ty.
I would be very, very happy.
Who I've been wanting. But the 9th best player on the big board is Tari Eason, which means he is going to be a future Hall of Famer because the Knicks are going to pass up on him.
He is a power forward, which would be a very logical pick for the Knicks to make.
I mean, they would have to trade Randall.
Or they would extend him a second time. They'd max him and Obi and be like, "Sorry, dude." By the way, the dream, I guess, is the Knicks get to the top 4 and they take Jaden Ivey, which people are in love with.
Who is a shooting guard, not a point guard.
Either way, you'd make it work. I mean, people are acting like, "Wait, he's a shooting. We can't." Yeah, if a guy looks like he's going to he's an all-star level talent, you fit him in the rot. You fit him on the team. He can obviously you could put Jaden at shooting guard, RJ at small forward. You can make that work.
Maybe they get lucky. They get the number 1 pick. They draft Holmgren, and then they could feel good about trading Mitch.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I haven't watched enough of Chet Holmgren. Have you watched a lot of him?
No, I was watching a highlight reel earlier today, but highlight reels are very misleading,
Obviously.
as you learned with Cauley Stein. So,
yes.
He looked good, but
okay, yeah. The Knicks aren't going to get the number 1 pick anyway, and it would be the year they get the number 1 pick would be the year that's only power forwards and centers that are ranked up there.
Yeah.
Jan writes, Where do you fall on the tank? Obviously, Tibbs is not going to try to lose games, but should he? I think it was Jeff Van Gundy that said that the best things for the Knicks would be to miss the playing game. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, if they get the playing game, that means their draft pick is going to be that much worse.
Well, I think also Van Gundy's point wasn't about the draft pick. He said they're just the roster and the team is going in the wrong direction. They need major changes. If they made the playing game, they could like pretend things are okay, and things are not okay.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's a roster that has a bunch of decent pieces, but they don't fit together very well.
No, you also have to be able to like limit, like say, like these guys get more minutes, these guys get less minutes. Prioritize guys, which I guess lately. So Tibbs has gotten obviously. There's been a directive to Tibbs that you have to play the young guys. Like obviously up to this point, like up to the All-Star game, he refused to play the young guys. Suddenly he's playing these young guys. So clearly there was a message to Tibbs like, hey, the only chance you're going to keep your job is to play the young guys. And he's been doing it. Also, he's benefited by the fact that some guys have been injured. With Grimes out, there's been room for other guys to play. With Obi, there's been more room for guys to play also. Obi's missed the last 2 games. But it's it's a weird roster with the same thing the Knicks have for like they have a bunch of guys where no one's really that much better than anyone else. Clearly Randall's better, RJ's better. Everyone else is kind of like it's hard to know like who to play if you're just looking at just pure talent.
They have like 6 guards, but like 5 of them are undersized shooting guards.
Right, and they got guys who aren't too like Fournier's. They should really try to move on from Burks, Fournier. All their signings from last summer, they should try to move on from if they can.
Yeah.
I mean, Fournier is great, but like, I don't know if he has a great role in this team going forward. I'd rather see some of these other guys play. And Fournier's been fine. He does what he's. I just feel like this was a weirdly constructed roster. David writes, "There's no chance at the moment, even for the playing game. I don't think we need to deliberately tank. We're doing a good job of it already." So Tibbs is not going to tank on purpose. And when he plays the young guys, if they win some, they win some. It is what it is. The schedule also is pretty tough going forward. And Paul writes, I hate so much that we win these pointless games now. Just watch. This will be the best Randall ever plays going forward.
Probably.
On Twitter, we had a couple questions also. Anthony writes, why the F the Knicks are starting to win just when we had the hope of getting a top 10 pick. Barrett King writes, what is the most important thing the Knicks should focus on this offseason? Example, trying to get rid of Evan Noel Burks contracts, trade for a star or trade for a star or stay put or chase certain players in free agency or trades like Beal. Tell me your guys' vision for a perfect offseason given our current situation.
It has to be getting a starting level point guard. I mean, I don't care. I don't think there's any contracts you have to get off. If they get off some, fine. I don't think they have any albatross contracts. Getting a point guard is a must. They have to.
Well, they have to prioritize guys' minutes and prioritize the youth. I think they have to have a youth movement going forward. Right. You could obviously play Randall, but like guys like Burks, Fournier, they don't necessarily need a lot of minutes going forward because they're not really going to help us going that much going. We're not ready to compete next year. Like this year, I was like, oh, we're going to compete. It's going to be great. Next year, my hope is the team is just like maybe back to 500 if this offseason goes right. I
mean, I feel like it depends who they get. I mean, with the right piece, they can actually be better than 500. They can have a repeat of like the 4th seed season, but the right pieces need to fall in the right places.
It's hard to hold out hope for like a guy like Brunson coming. Like, also, Knicks have limited cap space. I'd love them to draft a point guard. They need to get my dream off season is the Knicks bring in 2 interesting options at point guard. And beyond that, that'd be the biggest thing. It's 2 interesting options at point guard. And if they don't draft with the first pick a point guard, then that guy better be someone else that's going to play at a position that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if they draft another backup power forward or it's also hard to see. The Knicks are a frustrating team.
Yes,
they're very frustrating. My dream off season is the Knicks in year 3 of Leon Rose. he figures something out for point guard, and we have decent point guard play. I think a lot on this roster will be solved by the point guard play. The defense is obviously almost a bigger issue, but I feel like I don't know.
Point guard has to come before anything. It just does.
I feel like if his life is easier on offense, he'll play. But if the team is winning, he'll play better defense. Even though the team it's almost a catch-22.
Yeah.
But I feel like if he's energized by guys playing tough and like he's getting energized by everyone else playing hard, he'll play well also. And if a point guard could help everyone else develop, put IQ back in the right position, help Obi when he's out there, I think going in for Mitch, any kind of big contract would be a mistake. Signing any veterans would probably be a mistake.
Yeah.
Outside of like just fringe guys that'll fill some minutes.
I mean, any vets that aren't a point guard.
That aren't a point. I don't want to see a 30-year-old point guard either. I would like to see who was the guy I was mentioning, the backup in Memphis?
Ty Jones?
Ty. What is it? Ty. What is it? It's Tyus Jones, or is it?
Yeah.
Tyus Jones.
Yeah.
He's solid. He's 25 years old. He's looked pretty decent when Ja hasn't played. He was a late first round pick. I'm not saying he's like you bring him in and he's going to be awesome, but he could be at the very least a solid. Like you bring him in, draft the point guard, 2 interesting options at point guard. He could at least be like a gap filler. Like, I mean, Knicks also like the other way to get lucky is find a guy who's a backup somewhere else who would really like shine in a bigger role.
Yeah,
and those things do happen. Knicks third quarter writes, thoughts on Randall's wife calling out Knicks fans. Did you hear about this controversy, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, they called out Knicks Fan TV. People have been very, very shitty to Randall, calling out his family, messaging his family members. Like, that's above and beyond. Don't do that.
Yeah, so I completely agree. That's above and beyond. What I would say, though, is that I feel like players, their significant others, should stay the hell off of Twitter. And not because they shouldn't have a right to be on it. More that, like, a lot of this, like, sports fandom gets toxic. And the best thing they can do is just not look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, but that's the way it is. I mean, Westbrook is going through it. Like, there's just a lot of terrible people on the internet.
Yeah, the internet's a cesspool. And most people are commenting on Twitter, Reddit, anywhere else, are just having a normal conversation about this stuff. And people trash the players. Are like, oh, he's playing crap. You can criticize players. That's totally within bounds. But people go overboard. They get really into this stuff. Any player really shouldn't be like, you should just avoid reading this. And I know it's probably hard to do that. And we've never been in a situation where like you're like this famous celebrity people are commenting on. But really, the NBA should just like, and all these leagues should say like, tell the players, avoid social media as much as possible.
Yeah.
Or just put whatever comment you on. Don't read the comments. It's going to be a cesspool. It's going to drive you crazy. Don't do like they really should like for their own mental health. Just not look at this stuff.
It's really got to be bad for your mental health. I mean, I can't even imagine having people like sending death threats to your family because you missed a 3-point shot or something. Like it's insane.
And that's the extreme. But like it's also like last year, if you're Randall, you went on social media, people are like, "Oh my God, I love this guy. He's so amazing, Randall." And now he go like, and from like game 6 of the season, people are like, "Trade him. He's trash. I can't believe how bad he is."
Yeah. And
it's just, and that's like that's just inbounds. What like it part of getting paid and a crazy amount of money is that people are going to feel very strongly about what you do, and people are going to have ridiculous. I mean, like anyone who makes the NBA is an insanely elite athlete. I was watching with my son once basketball game, and I called some player. I said, "Oh, he sucks." My son's like, "But Dad, he's better than you." You don't understand. Like, we're just allowed to say this. They're a million times better than me.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just kind of it's a controversy that doesn't need to be there because the players can really they should try to avoid being part of reading all this stuff and getting involved in it. I feel bad that like anyone like involved Randall's family. And there's a cesspool, but you're not going to end the cesspool on the internet. You should probably just avoid looking at it all.
Yeah.
Because no one's coming up to them in real life and doing it. It's just this pseudo world.
Right.
Isn't it great that we're all going to live in the meta world soon, where like we're going to actually go to the cesspool?
Can't wait.
So
that's it
I
for
think that is
questions,
all the. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. Jay, what do you want to see for the rest of the season? What are your goals for the rest of the season?
I want to see the young guys get a lot of minutes, and I would like to see a lot of losses because I want a good draft pick. The Knicks need a difference maker, and the only way to do that is through the draft, and they have a much better chance if they have a higher pick.
Would you feel okay if like some of the young guys start playing really well? They start winning games, but like can't Reddish starts playing really well. All the young guys just start playing. McBride starts playing well. They quickly starts lighting. Quickly averages like 20 points a game going forward. With all those things, and the Knicks like win a bunch of games going forward, would you feel good about it?
Yeah, that I would be fine with if it was just the youth movement. If we're trotting out Burks at point guard and winning a couple games at the end of the season, and we're still getting 10 minutes a game from all the young guys, then no, that sucks.
Yeah. Well, the good thing the schedule is going to be tough going forward, so I find it really hard to. It'd be really tough for the Knicks to have a bunch of wins the rest of the season.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We're NY Knicks Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon. I'd like to thank our newest Patreon. Dean and Andrew joined, so thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
And we'll be back next week, and we'll see what happens. All right. Thanks for joining, guys.
Bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away. I'm gonna leave.